Baden with WrungNeck Decoy. I hope your holidays for 2017 are shaping up to be some good ones. So to start out with this video, what I wanted to talk about is the decoys that I've used over the course of my hunting career. And obviously some of these decoys existed long before I started hunting. But when I was a young guy shaking it out on the marsh, this was a group of decoys that I cut my teeth on. And so these are some old Sears Roebuck solid wood decoys, no keel on them, and they're quite heavy. So I had a set of those in a gunny sack, and I had my gun in this hand, and then a bunch of mosquitoes on my face that I couldn't do anything about. So that's how I had to work it back in the day, is hunting over these guys right here. That group of decoys in our family, I think, came around in the early 50s is when we started hunting with them. And then we graduated up to these models, the old American Trap Company decoys. And that made things a little bit lighter and a little bit easier to work with. And so those served a really good purpose, and that's what these look like here. And then I would even fashion my own decoys, really rough blocks, but they seem to do a really good job for me out on the marsh. Then this guy is probably the final model of this type of decoy that I hunted with. And now I don't hunt with them anymore. They're a big part of my life. They're iconic, and so I'm very respectful about what I'm about to say to you. But all of these models, they all have one thing in common, and that is they're all statuesque in their flotation. And so in my opinion, that creates about 80% of the circling that you're going to experience with the birds, because they recognize that that is a statuesque flotation. They don't like it. The birds want to be in that spot though, so that's when they start to circle, checking out your perimeter and want to see if you mess up or not. If everything's okay, they'll come in. So I don't have room in my boat anymore for statuesque decoys. So I've got to have every decoy that I hunt with has got to give me movement. It's got to be either turning, bobbing, or preening. And that's what a WrungNeck decoy will give me. And so when I have varied decoys and quantities in the water, I'm able to get that format, which is natural varied motion compounded by volume or rig. So coming up, you'll be able to see some of these decoys when the wind hits them, and the movement. Some of the movement looks crazy, but I guarantee you guys, that movement draws in the birds. They focus on that. They don't even care where you're at. So take a look at it. Hope you enjoy the video. Okay, so here's an explanation of my lanyard and what's on it. So I'll go through a couple of things here. With these guys right here, this is a double-banded yellow tarsal goose that I shot. That one was the division where they were tracking birds by putting this tarsal on in some of the municipalities. And then I know there's another red tarsal band that they were doing. I think the yellow was the immature and the red was the mature, if you got that. This guy is what I call a pirate band. That's a black band. And what they were doing with those is it was a study to see if it made a difference if the band was camouflaged on the leg of a Canada, and if that made a difference on the numbers as far as harvesting, because they thought that the bands were being spotted. I've only spotted one band in my life, and it was a caller on a swan, which is this guy over here. And that one's the holy grail of trophies for me. And that had a black collar on it. And I was really fortunate to get that swan because it went over on the club. And the caretaker was able to help me get that, and he told me if he would have saw my boot footprints in the snow by the buffer, he wouldn't have helped me. So that reminded me to respect the boundaries, you know. But this guy right here, that's a snow goose, and he was banded up in the Arctic Ocean, and he was featured in this issue of Wildfowl magazine. And then all of these guys right here are Brants, and this one right here was featured in this issue of the Wildfowl magazine. And so then one other was featured in the Wildfowl magazine. That's that one that's got the $30 on it. That was labeled or titled the Blood Trail Goose Band, and that was double banded, and I was able to get a check from the Secretary of the Interior for $30 on that one. And then a collar on a Canada goose. So just a few things off of that lanyard. The red, that's the slam for the Utah Division of Wildlife, and I was hoping those guys would date that band so I could date my lanyard, but they didn't do it on that. So, but yeah, just a couple of details on my lanyard. Thank you.